one too.
This would be beautiful downtown Mebane. And a short drive through the middle of no place.
Now we're in the middle of nowhere.
And where are we going?
To the conservation something or other with the lions and tigers.
And bears?
And bears.
Oh my.
They're closed. No. Awesome.
How long is the tour?
It depends on the person giving it. It can be as little as an hour.
Who was just speaking to you. If you need anything like to use the restroom or anything like that, let them know. Any general questions we found addressing the tour guide seems to be the best thing, because we found if one person has a question, probably 10 other people are asking the same question.
That's funny.
These guys are African grassland cats. These four are actually brothers. Their mother and father transit throughout the so they were born on site. We're not doing any serval breeding, but because they were pregnant, ended up having full-born. We'll hear more about that happening periodically. These cats, you'll notice they have really long legs. Some are actually excellent. Also have really large ears, which allows them to be excellent hearing, as you can imagine. So find a road hole and sit beside it and wait for one to run by and reach in and scoop it right up. Just to give you guys an idea of how quick servals are. Very, very efficient. They look like they're fast. They are incredible. They really don't. Out of that den box over there with two more buried behind them. We can't tell what the hierarchy is if they have one. The servals aren't social cats. Lions are your own felines that live in social groups. Other than boxes, there's some PVC pipe that runs to a heater. For a lot of the animals that we have here, North Carolina is about as far north as you can have them outdoors year-round. They're fine year-round here. It doesn't get too cold for them. Tigers actually prefer them. Alright, so here we have Cookie and Jeremiah, ring-tailed lemurs. Ring-tailed lemurs are found on the island. We promised ourselves we were never, ever, 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 ever going to work with primates. But Jeremiah started out life as a pet. And Jeremiah is the one that is in the back, kind of looking at you guys.
You can't see him too well,
the situation went from bad to worse. Jeremiah took over the guest bedroom. Anybody that went into the guest bedroom would have their face attacked. And so lemurs you have to give them a lot of what we call enrichment, so things to play with, things to manipulate, things to climb on. Otherwise, they start getting those neurotic behaviors like pulling out all their. So we got some help from the Lemur Center. They kind of told us what to expect, maybe how we could help work with Jeremiah. And so Jeremiah came to live with us. Now, they come under some new management. They realized they were overcrowded. They were looking to downsize, and they said, we have a lemur that would be perfect for you guys. But if you want Cookie Lemur, you also have to take these 3 red foxes and a little broken lion that we really don't know what to do with. Any other questions? All right.
Archer is out.
I was going to say, I see Archer's down here looking like he'll cooperate. Now, here we have Archer Binturong. Now, for those of you who have heard of Binturongs before, have you ever heard of the creatures they're related to? Do you know kind of anything about them? No. They are in the family Viverridae, meaning they're related to genets and civets. And that's really about it. Now, not a lot of people have heard of genets or civets either, so that really doesn't help them. Where are you going? Coming back? All right, good. What makes them so critical is they eat a little plant with the fruit called the strangler fig. Now the strangler fig is climbing. The first one that you'll notice is the tail. Now what were you going to say about the tail?
It looks really strong.
It is really strong. It's actually partially prehensile, meaning you can use it almost like an extra limb. You notice how he's kind of curled up the last of it? It's usually about the last foot or so of a, which sounds kind of like a wah. At that point, you need to start thinking about leaving the enclosure pretty immediately. If you ignore that and he escalates again, he's going to do what we call a duck hop, which is where he rears up on his back legs and smacks the ground really hard, which sounds really adorable until you're in there with it. At that point, drop what you... They have incredibly disgusting mouths. Cats, which is a little bit of a misnomer, since they're not really closely related to bears or cats. So for any of you Cincinnati fans out there, this is your mascot. He does. He is a ham. He is a ham. So it's being a very slow process. Now,
Lifespan? Him to come down for anything.
All right, you gonna come back down now? You see what's up there now? Satisfied your curiosity? Now we will talk about lion and tiger spring before we get over there.
It's gonna cap one.
Well, why don't we go? We're gonna go meet some more servals.
I'm gonna let them come. Yeah, they're in their box.
We find these guys too much in traditional zoos because the first thing a lot of people think is, wow, that looks a lot like my cat at home. A little bit larger, but this is probably what the Egyptians domesticated to get today's domestic cats. They're believed to be the closest relatives that we have in the wild. Jungle cats historically have been doing all right in the wild. They've been doing fairly well. They've learned to adapt around people's civilizations, especially in like aqueducts and that sort of thing. But they need all-in-one little nifty power pack essentially. That way we don't all animals except for the lemurs to clean them.
Or
Jeremiah
rubbing in some
lemurs are
kind
only
of
animals.
stuff.
He's showing off for us.
He really is.
I've never seen him climb straight up like that.
Neither have I.
He's showing.
As I mentioned just a second ago, Lena is our resident supervisor enclosure first. So you guys will notice this is a very nice enclosure. This is the enclosure actually we hit maturation, at which point she decided that the house didn't smell enough like Lena. And so to remedy this, she decided she needed to urinate with all the air conditioning. We can pay to build this enclosure. Just to give you guys an idea of enclosure costs, this is a $6,000 to $10,000 enclosure. We operate on an annual budget of about $150,000 a year, and that includes all of our staff salaries. So as you can imagine, it takes us a while to get that kind of money together. They also didn't understand what all that was going to entail. But it's actually been beneficial for another animal besides just Lena. Masupa, who lives with Lena, was actually found chained up in a backyard with a bunch of pit bulls. Just the placebos, not the ones that have like the diseases injected into them. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Maybe we're just not supposed to disturb them.
Boy? You a boy? How are you?
Yes, yeah.
That is definitely, that's where cats came from.
That's interesting. Hi, Tarzan. Bye-bye.
That being said, I am willing to bet that the other facility had no idea which fox was Foxy, Roxy, or Soxy because we wanted better for our foxes than that. The problem is when you build an expansion for foxes, foxes are what we call tunnelers, meaning that if you don't put some sort of a floor on the bottom, they can tunnel right out and leave. This enclosure for the rest of their lives. We wanted better for our foxes than that. We like our animals to have as many of the natural behaviors as they possibly can. But our foxes are essentially living in a 2-foot sandbox. As you can see, for the extra space, our foxes are no longer wiggy. It happened really almost overnight. So it may well be their red fox.
But they're not really.
Unfortunately, Reno was very unconscious because Reno acts a lot like a wild bobcat. Now, while the vet had her, though, he determined that her behavior. Real quick, if I can rob Bobby Fargo to come out and meet you.
He's in the far back.
Bobby! I think he heard the food cart.
Yeah.
About our bobcats? Cars, probably coyotes. I would imagine they try to avoid foxes too. If you guys want to come into the woods following the rope. But a lot of times when you have a cat that's been bounced around that much, they're not really interested in forming relationships. Really could not ask for more in a little cat. It's about 20, we think. Wow. And you know, when
what's their usual lifespan?
20. We got Taz honestly assuming he would be more of a short-term acquisition because he was really old when we got him. He really wasn't in great shape. He was incredibly obese. He's lost a lot of weight since he arrived here.
When you say that, how much do you think?
I think he's lost about 30 pounds or better.
So how much is he right now?
He's reaching the end of his road, which is going to be very sad because we all really love Taz. As you can tell, he's very charismatic, a whole lot. But other than that, he's got great color in his eyes. He walks around a lot. He can hop up on the platforms. He's still doing tremendously well. We're actually really amazed. We ended up, he used to live in a different enclosure, and we decided, wow, he's still doing well. He's still going. We have to build him his own space. So Taz has really mellowed out in his older age with regards to the park bench. It used to be anytime that handmade pad fell off the bench, he would go up to the top of the enclosure and whine for somebody to come put it back on. Now, not. And the really cool, Taz is actually... We by chance be able to borrow it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's a reaction to see.
Alright, this is Amadeus Wolf. Right over here right in front of me almost, the smaller gray one is Hopa. Hopa's the alpha female, and she actually runs the pack. What's that? Oh, that's what they run that whole rescue mission. But we got a call one day from a guy who had been breeding wolf dogs to sell his pets and said, hi, to send him one shipment of meat, with the understanding that he was never going to contact us again. Kind of took a middle of the road approach. Well, everybody needs a little baby wolf for the present. We looked at Amadeus' situation and decided he would the two sections didn't have a dig barrier in between them because we weren't worried that Amadeus was going to dig underneath to himself. There was a dig barrier around the entire outside of the enclosure so he couldn't go anywhere. But we started looking around for a companion for Amadeus as well. We essentially, they're not a companion, so we went and got Hopa, and almost immediately things between Amadeus and Hopa were really weird. Not to mention the fact that, you know, first of all, there's just 3 wolves in Raleigh, North Carolina. They're not very Ami and Hopa seemed to know each other. The very first night they were together, so that was weird. We had to have some surgery done on Hopa to repair some of the damage from the kid that hit by the car. Found out she was the exact same age as Amadeus as well. So that put up even more flags, so of course we had to do more digging. We found out that the same guy that took us Amadeus had also given away a wolf. Actually, he wanted his own pack. He'd tell up to tour groups and he would whimper and whine, especially tour groups with children in them. He would whimper and whine and put his ears way back to his tail between his legs. He would get Amadeus and Hopa their own. So a facility that sometimes works in Maryland had been given a female wolf stage. She wasn't spayed, they had 6 puppies. And they asked if we could help. We agreed to take 2 of the wolves, Roland and Trekkie, and Ami and Hopa have raised Roland and Trekkie as their own. They've done a tremendous job at this point, Roland. Alright. Do we have any questions about our wolves?
Okay, but dogs that are bred as wolf dogs, are they not part dog and part wolf?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. These were a full wolf litter.